So I'm going to pass the time over to our first speaker, Martha. The stage is yours.
So you were supposed to hear a theme of Zeitgeist, which is an initiative which we do every Friday evening at our company-wide meeting. And today my talk is about how to pop the bubble with Zeitgeist, so how to stay up to date and what kind of simple way we use to keep our team up to date with what's happening in the world. So first of all, I want to tell you what is Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist consists of two words in German, which is Zeit, time, and Geist, mind. And in our company, we refer to it as cultural events which are relevant to the time right now. So first of all, maybe who are we? Who's Mighty Bear Games? So we are a local Singaporean game studio, and so far we released 3 games, and our most recent one was Battle Royale, which is live on Apple Arcade, and also we have like upcoming titles, so stay tuned for that. With Battle Royale, we got a lot of praise for being very fun, quirky, and basically a whole family game. And that is like very important to us. So we want to do accessible multiplayer games, which are inclusive. And we're doing with each game, we're trying to do it better and better and better. Okay, with that context, so what are the Zeitgeist slides? Those are slides which are summarizing the highlights of the week and consist of 3 parts. Number 1 are hot topics. Those can be different topics from pop culture news like rumors about Rihanna launching a new album, or game news like the recent playtime restrictions in China, or any other things which are like trending topics in the world. Then we have the meme of the week. I'm pretty sure today, tonight, this Friday, we will have the best memes about Squid Game. And then what to watch. So there we get a section of series, TVs, documentaries, which are recommended to watch. One of them was, for example, Seaspiracy. So why is Zeitgeist so important to us? Why do we think it's worth investing the time in talking about those things? So first of all, you might know it from yourself. You are like sticking into your own bubble. You like a specific type of games. You like specific type of things on social media, and the algorithms feed you more and more of that. So if you look at my Instagram account, most of it is like roller skating. Not sure what kind of topic you have, but I would not know anything about the upcoming Lego series, which will be gender neutral. Would never hear of that if I would just stay in my own bubble. So it's like really important to make sure that our whole company stays aware of what's going on in our world, what is trending, what is like culturally relevant, what are like maybe faux pas, what are things we definitely should not do in our games, and so on and so forth. Kind of similar, but in a different direction, it's creativity. So if you stay in your own bubble and only consume things you like, you also will draw inspiration from things you already only know and like. So especially with the more quirky news like designer Crocs and I don't know, like other things which are happening in the world, you can get like very funny inspirations for your games. And if you ever check out Battle Royale, you will see that our character designs have like very quirky elements, and we draw a lot like from the real world. And the last one is especially important nowadays, is connection. So as you have noticed, a lot of people work from home. There's little in-office interactions. So we should not underestimate the possibility of connection we get through an initiative like Zeitgeist Slides. So basically, during those 15 minutes of hot topics, memes, and what to watch, all of the companies like exchanging either like fun facts corresponding to that, or jokes, or reactions, and you get to know your colleagues really well because you kind of understand how they work, how they see the world, and what their perspective is on the news and on the takes. And that is not only helping to form some connection, but also helps you to understand how your colleagues' mind work, and that helps with collaboration. So with that, those are like the benefit of Zeitgeist, and I hope you try it out for yourself. The questions will be actually later, so I will just thank you and see you later.
Thank you so much, Martha. So nice to hear from you. And up next, we'd like to invite Shawn up on stage.
Okay, so I'm Shawn from BattleBrew Productions. Today I'm going to be talking about, okay, I'm just going to check whether this works. Okay, so a little bit of who are we first, right? So we're an indie studio in Singapore where we've done a couple of games by now. Some of them have won awards. This is a picture of the studio pre-pandemic, just to let you all have a look. So I think studio culture is pretty important for us, so we used to eat together a lot. This is not currently possible in the pandemic. Hot pot parties and takeaways used to be our thing. This is a picture of the team, so we now currently work from home, entirely work from home, but still making cool stuff and having fun. So what have we made? So I think we are most well known for the Battle Sky Brigade series. There's a couple of games here by now. It's a picture of some of the stuff we've done at, I believe, Taipei Game Show. We were working on a strategy game at that point in time. A couple of screenshots. And then we had this idle clicker town builder called Battle Sky Brigade Tap Tap. This was in 2018. Picked up 4 awards then. Here's what it looks like. So pretty cute games, that's what we do. And then our title after that was part of Apple Arcade, Battle Sky Brigade Harpooner. This is a vertical shooter and fishing game. Here's a quick look at what it looks like. Why is this black? Okay, we have a game in production. This one has actually picked up 3 awards at this point, Noodle Superstar. This is a cooking game. It's a multiplayer cooking game. So again, cute in the same brand. A couple of quick look at this. Again, it's got lots of mini games and stuff. And it's about cooking delicious noodles. And we're also working on an isometric action game. This one's called Cuisinia. This one's a bit of an RPG. Small one. And Cuisinia. So, what are we talking about today? So, we're going to be going through a little bit about how to market your game, Indie Edition, for $0, which is basically what we've been doing for about 5 years now. So, fun fact, we actually did buy a couple of ads on Facebook at one point. Didn't really know how to do that, but a lot of where we got attraction from was through these other methods, which I'll go through here. So, what's the biggest problem here for like small devs, right? Your problem is you have low or no budget, which is exactly the problem we had when we were starting out. So number one, actually, it's make friends. So no dev is an island, right? So all the people out here at the convention, even if, those of you at home, I think what I'd say is reach out, right? You have social media at your fingertips. Use these or whatever is used in your region, right? But these are some pretty popular ones. So this is a couple of examples of like what you can do. So what do we usually do? So we actually post a lot of in-progress stuff. We do a little bit of fan art here and there. We post a quick sketch. This takes like, I don't know, a couple of hours. And then basically try and engage with the audience. But even using that word sometimes is a little bit odd. I'd say don't think of them as your audience. Think of them more as like friends, right? I think that makes it a lot easier. You also want to look at streamers. So again, I think this may be a sort of a lifestyle change for some folks. A lot of us have been stuck at home. You're playing games. So I had a whole bunch of friends, including myself, who weren't on Twitch before. Now we are gaming a lot more online and visibly so. So I think, like example, Twitch isn't just a streaming platform. It's actually a communication platform for a lot of people. The press is another one. So again, make friends with the press, and a lot of them will be at events such as this, right? And if not, then I think feel free to reach out, because if you're making something cool, if you're making something interesting or attractive, odds are it doesn't hurt you at all to just try and reach out. You never know who will actually feature your game, and usually if one does, then you have more press outlets coming to you after that. Apply for competitions, right? So this is another easy one, but I think a lot of people take this for granted. So Battlesky Brigade Tap Tap, like I said, picked up a few awards, right? And we've got Noodle Superstar as well. Okay, wait, let me go back to that one. So this is related actually to the next point. So most of the competitions are attached to the game shows, right? So when you sign up for like the game shows or the game conventions, or even if you don't, most of the competitions are open and internationally so. Just submit your game. If you're working on something that you're proud of and that's interesting, even if you don't win, you might get in as a finalist. And every scrap of accomplishment or press that you can get helps a lot in your journey to getting awareness or feature for your game. Which leads us to the next point, right? It's kind of like related, right? Maximum effort at game shows and game conventions. So, quick 4 points here. Do research on events and competitions, apply for the events and the game competition. Are there indie booths? Because usually you get a better rate if you're an indie. Is there a government grant? Again, there might be some, right? So go and check if you're like local game associations. If you aren't signed up, maybe it's a good idea to just check it out, sort of stuff. But you never know, like if there are free resources that you can tap on to use, which are really helpful, especially if you're an indie, right? So number one, and it's kind of like a doorstep, but you kind of should announce that you'll be at the event anyway and how to find you if it's a physical one and if there's a map. Conventions are a lot smaller nowadays, but I'm sure one day we'll get back there. So quick look at a couple of other conventions we've been at. So decorate your booth, try and make an effort to stand out, right? During the event, talk to fans, right? Find out what they like and don't like. It's not just fans, talk to the devs as well, the other devs, so like your neighbors or the other folks. Basically, you kind of want to talk to as many people as you can, and not so much like in a general promotion way. You kind of want to get to know them a bit organically. Nobody really likes being sold up front, right? Hard sell. More like, just find out what they're working on as well. And if you all are both working on interesting stuff, then I think a connection is organically made. After that, so I mean, you've been making friends, hopefully the press has been around, etc. But post pictures of the event that you're taking as well. If people are trying out your games, that actually makes for a great shot. So here's a picture at Korea for some folks playing one of our games. I forget which convention this is actually. Sorry about that, but yeah. So you want to follow up as well with the press, publishers, fans, and fellow devs. So basically everyone you talk to at the event, maybe drop them a quick thank you. It was great meeting you, all that sort of stuff. And treat it like a real friendship, which it is, because that's a relationship you're building with the people around you at the events that you meet. Okay, art trade and official collabs. So what happened here was this is sort of an art trade. So again, we have friends who are in the art community. So some of them did artwork for us. You could say it's fan work, but sometimes it's initiated by us. So like if you do, I don't know, like a fan art for someone else's game or someone else's toy or something, then they might do something back for you. I'll leave this, to negotiation because it's not something that you should force. But again, I think it's about reaching out and being, again, like I said, a friend. So if you do this for other people's IPs that you respect and love, then it's organic. Maybe they might do that for yours as well, especially if they like the stuff you're making. Wait, am I missing one slide? Okay, wait, later on. The power of memes and fan art. So this is kind of relevant actually to Martha's talk earlier about Zeitgeist, right? So this is a slightly older meme at this point. There's like this lady in Singapore who was known for like hanging stuff on S-hooks. It's like a funny thing at one point. So we took the little plush toy that we made and hung him off the edge of a table, and that got a bunch of shares. KDA from League of Legends, which I love. We did some fan art, and that got almost 700 shares and got talked a lot about on Reddit. So again, this is related to the previous point here. Of course, you want to be careful about this. You don't want to, use people's stuff wrongly, so you don't do it in your game. You can do it as fan art, but you can't claim it as your own. So obviously, please don't do that, right? Promote the process, right? So this one's important. So I think we pay attention to this. So a lot of people sometimes hide what we call the ugly stuff, and yes, some of it needs to be edited. But I think it's good to share with the fans the kind of work that you're doing. Artwork, more artwork. And then, of course, about the people behind the game, that's good as well. So again, you've seen that. Discuss regular updates to the game. So again, keeping the conversation alive. And of course, looking outside the game, we made a plush toy, as we mentioned. And if you share, then people will share again. So again, it's about just presenting your stuff. Of course, you don't need to make a plush toy. You can do game screenshots, paper printouts, inspirations for your game. Just keep talking to your audience. We set up a Jiffy as well. So Jiffy is like, those little animated, like not videos. We ended up getting, at that point in time, 14.6 million views. I think we're up to 16 mil at this point. And then, of course, look at local festivals or stuff that you like anyway. So we like a lot of these local events, so we feature artwork that we do up. So key takeaways. Basically, you can have a look here. We are all connected. Learn how to make friends, give and receive favors. The competitions and the game events are great. Please go for them and participate. Get into the habit of using social media. I think that one's very important. See if what you're making is relevant. Again, that's zeitgeist. Let your audience be involved. And of course, keep talking and listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shawn To, ladies and gentlemen. And coming up next, we'll bring up our third speaker, Poornima. Let's bring her on.
Hello everyone, I am Poornima Seetharaman. I am a director of design at Zynga. I've been in the industry for over 15 years, primarily as a game designer. I'm also an educator, mentor, and speaker. I've worked on games like BioShock Mobile, The Predator, The Office, GSN Casino, How to Train Your Dragons, and Farmville 2 Country Escape. So without further ado, let's get started. So today we are going to talk about game design and player psychology in a simplified manner. It's oftentimes that it's the basics that we tend to forget because probably something we are super familiar with and yet we don't objectively look into. So let's talk about the 3 C's, which is collect, combine, and create. So collect is basically you're doing your market research, your data collection, competitor analysis, whatever mediums you have to collect any form of data that is working for your game or something that's similar to what you are trying to make. Then it's combining. So you have to also see that, the data that you're collecting is actually working or is relevant for the game that you're making. And, basic idea and all that, you combine them. And then is when you start creating it, right? So these are some of the main points that we all tend to do, but now you're going to look at it from a more structured perspective. So now you're going to talk about the 5 major psychological tactics used in game design. We are going to make a conscious effort to note it down so that we knowingly understand what these tactics are. The first one is passage of time. So if you realistically look at a real life example of whether you're browsing an e-commerce site or an Instagram feed or a TikTok feed, what happens? What's the behavior of you as a user is on these platforms and how does it differ, right? Some of them are passive consumption. So say it's Spotify, you have a playlist that you play and you're passively consuming them. Versus in an Instagram or a TikTok, you're actively consuming the content. And because games are more of an, something that you consume actively, you can start comparing it with some of these platforms. The passive consumption is something you can look at wait periods, right? Like when you're doing something and player has to come back. Maybe it's a song, in case of Spotify, it's a song they don't like, so they want to go back to the app and skip the song or something like that. In terms of game, it could be just they have to come back and harvest a crop or something similar, right? Now, this is where you're doing a habit creation. What is this habit that you're making for your players? And defining fun. And fun is a very subjective term, and it can vary from game to game. We have dark themed games, right? Like dark horror. All of this can also be fun for different kind of player types, right? So this is you're going to define what is fun, what is the crux of your game that people don't mind playing over and over again, and eventually that passage of time happens in these areas. The second one is temptation. So this is where we're talking about like a trigger or a fear of missing out, right? So this is again a very human nature for us to, like, you say that this offer lasts only the next 2 hours. Irrespective of whether we want the offer or not, there is a slight temptation to see, is the deal beneficial to us, right? So this is what is temptation. Like, hey, it's almost there. You've made it, right? And sometimes it can be loss aversion when you're saying that, hey, your crops are going to wither right now, so you'll have to come and harvest them in the next 10 minutes, right? So people who have spent time in it, working towards making these crops, they want to make sure that they're coming back and fixing it. So this is also something where it comes as aspiration. Someone we see in the, either within the ecosystem of the game or outside, which is like the community forums, we see someone has attained a better level that aspires us to get there. So that's temptation. Endowment is a very interesting one. So this is basically divided into two facts, I would say. One is progress and one is investment. So progress, how do we do it? Basically, we're going to talk about things like the game offers you something that's like X percentage done. So you will have to only do the remaining to get that final reward. So it feels like it's half done. So you just have to work a little bit more to get that entire thing. So that's endowment progress. Now, in terms of endowment effect, it's the investment. Instead of a pay to win sort of model, when people invest something in there, so where they pay is very different, and that's what defines endowment, right? A wait period can be something people pay for and clear through the levels, but making the item itself is a personal emotion, like you're connecting with it, you made it, right? Anything that you tend to do that way, you tend to invest more time, money, all of that effort into it, right? So that's what is endowment. Win movements. Now let's talk about, how human body is, and we need a dopamine rush to make ourselves feel happy and move on to the next thing. And games provide you with this amazing loop of adrenaline and dopamine rush, right? So adrenaline is where you're all pumped up. You want to actually get things done, and you go through it. You go through that process in a flow state. You just want to get it done. And when it happens, as a player, they need to get that dopamine hit from it, right? So as game designers, we need to make sure that this circle is done very properly. So this is like, it's that amazing gratification that you are getting out of it. And this reaffirms the habit creation. Now, social connection. Now, as humans, we all need a social connection, no matter, even if we are introverts, right? Some form of social connection is important for us. Now, this can happen within a game where you have, like a multiplayer system or a connection or a chat system, all of that exists in your game. Or it could be something that's completely outside of the game. Maybe it's a single player game, but you connect with people who play that outside of it, right? Now, some of the things that we have seen work is a sentiment of gifting, like giving someone something, like welcoming them on board. Even things like philanthropy. When I used to play an MMORPG, I remember, there used to be some of these very high level players. They used to just come and just randomly drop some items for others to take for no reason. They don't get anything out of it per se, except now we are in awe and we just look up to them whenever they spawn next, right? Then there's also the element of competition as well as cooperation, right? You want to become better than someone else, or you want to help someone, like together, let's aim at something and win that over. So these are some of the very important psychological tactics that you can use in your game, right? To make it more relevant, more connected, and more successful. So let's also just sum it all up with a play loop, where it is basically fun. You're having fun. There is an element of growth in the game. And that is where, every time you do something, you feel like you have improved, right? And then when you reach that level where you have been really good, now you are that player. That's the mastery, that feeling that I am best right now. And then the social connection we spoke about, which is shared experiences. Together, this is the play loop, and this is critical to any game, right? So use these tactics and be very conscious about what is the aspect in your game that aligns with these tactics, and list it down, and you will be in a much better state with your game. And that brings us to the end of the micro talk. I know this has been basic and we have just scratched the surface. There's so much more to it. Happy to connect outside of this as well. Thank you.
Alrighty, we heard from our third Lightning Talk speaker, Poornima, and now I'd like to bring back our first two speakers on stage for a live Q&A session. So please join me to welcome Martha and Shawn. Welcome back, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Great,
Good.
thank you.
Great. It's so nice to finally see you guys in person, live over here. I mean, we're very sick of doing all the virtual events, really, right? So it's nice to see each other face to face. So I think you guys really got the question, the Q&A tab going. As you can see on the screens there, we do have quite a fair bit of questions, all right? And we have about 5 minutes to go for the Q&A portion, so let's try to answer as many as we can, okay? So let's bring up the first question.
Do we just answer?
Oh, this one. Okay, so
Right.
this is directed to you, Shawn, for BattleBrew. Is there a point to winning competitions? Do you get publishing deals?
Okay, so the answer here would actually kind of depend on the competition itself. Some of them might lead to publishing deals. In general, I think getting noticed is good. So I wouldn't say it's a formal way of getting deals. Some of them might actually have it as a clause in the price, but it's more about getting noticed. I would say indirectly, they definitely help in you getting publishing deals. Indirectly.
Okay, let's bring up the next question. Okay, so this one is directed to you, Martha. Except Zynga's slides, is there any other things you do to stay ahead of the curve?
Yes, so I think another honorable mention goes to our My Tea games. I'm not sure if you can see what I did there, if it's not written, but that's basically like a game critique session. So each week we pick a game of the week, and everybody in the company plays that game. And those are like very different type of games. So it can be either something that is very popular or something very alternative and indie and unique. And then we sit together after a week of playing and talk about the games and see like what did they do really great, what can we learn from them, what is something unique they do, what is maybe something we should avoid doing. And I think that also helps because especially a lot of people who work in the game industry love games, but they have like a specific genre they love. So I would never play, I don't know, I don't have a genre now, but I would never play a certain type of game, but I would focus more on that game. So playing games you usually would not play helps you a lot to understand things and also to draw from that for your own games.
I see. Okay, so we still have a lot more questions coming up, but before we go into that, I just want to extend an invitation out to our on-site audience to see if anybody has any questions for Martha and Shawn. If you do, you can raise up your hands, and my colleague will pass you a microphone. Anybody from the ground? Calling once, twice? We got shy people in the house. It's okay. Did I see a hand? No? Okay, don't worry. You can also submit your questions by scanning the QR code on your tables, okay? So let's come back to the questions that were submitted. How does your company make time for all this fun while balancing deadlines? So since I don't see this directed to any of you, I'm going to ask the both of you to answer these questions. Let's start with ladies first.
Okay.
Martha, okay.
Yeah. So for us, so I think our founder team is like very keen on keeping the team aware of things which are happening in the world. So Zeitgeist is part of the company-wide stand-up. So it is limited to 15 minutes. So that makes sure that it doesn't go over 2 hours. And it is at the end of the day. So I think Friday evening, nobody wants to do hardcore stuff anymore. So it's a very nice way of accompanying you to the weekend. Yeah.
That's lovely. And what about you, Shawn?
I think for us, basically, I mean, we've worked in some larger companies before. We've definitely crunched in the previous companies. And we found that, I mean, the work does need to be done, but you have a finite resource. I mean, it's basically energy, right? You can only work so hard for so long. So I don't think it's about necessarily thinking about fun as something extraneous. It's intrinsic to your own work. If you're extremely tired or you're burnt out, I think it's really hard to do creative work. So more or less, I mean, we just schedule like you're tight, like this is the time you work. Let's try not to stretch beyond that. We understand sometimes people are a little bit more passionate about trying to finish the stuff they're doing, but yeah, don't crunch. And I think we try and be conscious about that. Fun, a lot of us play games with each other. I mean, we're friends outside of work. So I guess you just, it's like, hey, do you want to get a game of like Valheim? Do you want to play Stardew Valley or something like that? So I think, yeah, a lot of us do play games like Genshin together outside as well. I think that happens organically, and it's more like to do with company culture rather than like a strict rule for us.
And I think sometimes it's hard to find that line in between because you guys live and breathe game, it's in your blood, and you're working with games as well. So I think, to find that the fine-tuning between work time and play time, I think that is very, very important. So as we are speaking, there are more and more questions coming in. Oh, this one is directed to both our speakers. What systems do you use to create game concepts and story characters? Perhaps let's start with Shawn.
Oh, systems? We don't, again, I think we approach it organically, right? So I think for us, like how's a fun way to say this? A lot of the company, like we share, well, basically we're all weebs, so we watch anime, right? So you watch anime, you watch different shows. I think it's a little bit to do with keeping up the zeitgeist of the times, but not so much as like a formal process. Again, I think it's very culturally driven. So you kind of just look at what works, what doesn't quite work, and we discuss that pretty openly with each other. I don't think we're very strict about this. It's more like, does this feel right? Would this character say this? What's a good visual hook for this character? These are things we think about, and you reference certain shows or cartoons or anime that you like, and you go like, it's like this character, then people get it if you watch the same thing.
And what about you, Martha, over at Zeitgeist?
Yeah. It's a very good question, and I might not be the perfect person to answer that as a product manager, but I can tell you how we do it right now for the new game I'm working on. So basically what we're looking into is what is our target audience, who are we building this game for, what are their interests, what do they like, what do they love, what do they maybe miss in other games. So all those things, we do research about that, and then we also see what is like popular in other games, and then try to find what are like the common themes, and maybe how can we diverge from that, so to add like a unique twist to that. Because people usually, they like things which they know, but if you always get things you completely know, it gets a bit boring, so we try to add like a nice twist to that. And then all that information, which usually I collect, it goes like to the artists, and then they do their magic. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. It's like seeing your ideas come to life. Exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys so much for chatting with me and also sharing some very useful tips for everyone out there. Unfortunately, that was all the time that we have to answer the questions. And if you guys have more questions for Martha and Shawn, they can take your questions on below. Can we take some time to do that?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
All right, thank you guys. Please give them a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.